Hey, thanks for checking out Nuts and Bolts with Tone, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I have a 2014 Ford Explorer with a V6 EcoBoost motor. Came in with a complaint of making a noise going up a hill. And so somebody else got it, looked at it, found a P0299, which is a Turbo Underboost code, and pulled off one of the charge air pipes and found a little bit of metal, and it came to me. So I inspected it, and I found that the turbos were trash. The crazy thing is, we just put these turbos in 5,000 miles ago, and I believe it was in for smoking then. Actually, it was in for smoking. It smoked like a chimney. But as far as I know, there wasn't any metal, and the air filter is intact. So not quite sure what chewed up the front of these turbos, but I'm going to show you what they look like. I'm also going to show you how to replace these turbos. Before we do that, hit the like button, hit subscribe button, and hit the bell. You get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Let's go check it out. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and take off this engine cover. But let me tell you, it's really hot. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is come over here to my swamp cooler here. You fill it up right there. You got a pump, turn it on low, medium, or high. And this one is awesome. It actually will recirculate and swing these side to side. So now I got some cool air. So now we can get started. So we're gonna go ahead and pull off this engine cover. We're gonna go ahead and disconnect all the charge air ducting and the intake piping. Now I'm also removing the intake manifolds to clean them because we have metal. Let me first show you why we're doing this job. So I'm trying to get a light in here so you can see my headlamp's just not doing it. So if you look at all that metal in the charge air system, it's all metal that's shiny. It's really hard to get a picture of this with the camera trying to focus. You can see it's all inside. So this is why we're doing it. Wait till you see what the fronts look like. All right, here we go. This is the front turbo right here. You can see how bad it is. All the fins are ground up pretty bad. We'll look at it more when we get it apart. But just a quick little snippet on why we're doing this. So it can seem kind of difficult trying to decipher what's what. But this is how I'm going to do it here. I went ahead and disconnected both of these. I pulled out the one that goes down to the front of the turbo down there. This one down here you have to disconnect from down below. This one was put on wrong, and so my clamps are underneath here, kind of hard to get to. But I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it here, and I'm going to pull this pipe out. You got to disconnect your connectors for your bypass valves, and disconnect your hoses right here, and this one goes to the one that goes here. You're gonna disconnect that. You got a 10 here, and you got to disconnect that valve right there. You're going to have so there's a hose that comes off of the valve right here that goes to the bottom of the front of the turbo. On the back it goes to, I believe, the one at the top. The back one's different, but this one goes to down below. Well, it just connects to the piping. So you're going to go ahead and disconnect this, and you want to try to disconnect from the turbo both hoses, because this pipe right here is going to come out from the turbo, and once you bring it forward you can get to one of the clamps to get the hose off of here. For the front turbo here, obviously you're not going to have this much access as I do. I needed to remove the intercooler. And so with removing the intercooler, I have everything exposed for this front turbo. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we got to take off the heat shield. You're going to disconnect your oxygen sensors. We're going to disconnect all the coolant and oil lines. And we're going to disconnect the turbo boost line right here for the wastegate. And spray all your nuts for all your exhaust before you even start this job, and let it sit. So for the oil line here on top, this right here, it's really hard to get a regular socket on here. So this is what I found. I had to do this. I had to have a universal, and this bolt was really tight. And what I did was, I have these stubby Torx from Carbine Tools, and with this universal all taped up and this socket, I was able to get in there. You can't put a regular socket in here without, and I think somebody had partially rounded it because I had to hammer my socket in there. But unless you have something like this, you're not going to get in there properly. And it's a T45 for that top oil line. You're going to go ahead and take out this cat assembly right here. It's just going to be 2 15s and 3 15s there. And then once you do that, we got to just take out this oil drain right here. This is just going to sit up underneath the turbo. And you got 2 8mm are going to come out. And then we'll be able to lift this turbo out of the way. Here's a better look at that turbo and what happened to it. Still not sure what caused this. Both turbos are exactly the same, but that's what it looks like. The shaft seems to have a lot of play, but I checked the new one, and the new one had play also. I took off the oil feed for the turbo right here, and aside from pulling this fitting off and making sure that it's clear, the line was clean, so it wasn't an oil flow issue. So once you've got the front turbo off, it's time to do the back. So to do the front one, you already had to disconnect the flex pipe that goes up here to the cat. So you're gonna go ahead and disconnect the other flex pipe that comes here to this cat. You got an O2 sensor connector to disconnect. And then you're gonna come right here, right there, and disconnect those 3 bolts, or those 3 nuts, and get the cat out of there. And then we're gonna work on dropping this subframe. We're gonna drop the subframe and get that out of the way. Show you how to do that. So you can see this one here is blowing a heck of smoke. This is where all the smoke's coming from, all the oil burning. But anyways, so what you're gonna do is that fitting right there, we're gonna go ahead and take that clip off just like a fuel line, and you're gonna slide a quick connect in there and disconnect it just like I did on the front. I go ahead and disconnect the coolant fittings from the back of the turbo right here, and the drain from underneath. Go ahead and disconnect all that. I roll this drain out of the way. We're gonna really try to take this turbo out without removing the subframe. I don't know if it's gonna be possible, but we're gonna try. And then there's some heat shields on top. I can't show you, but this one goes over the exhaust manifold. And this one comes over the side of the turbo. Got a couple bolts. This bolt right here bolts through that hole right there on that one. Let me get this line disconnected. So the line is the same as that fitting right there in the front. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect that. So if you have a universal, if you have a fuel line disconnect kit, this is the one I use right here. And you can see that it came off really easy right there. Just a quick little twist and it popped off. And now we can get the heat shields out of here so we can disconnect everything and get this turbo out of here. You're not gonna be able to see it, but right down below here are the black coolant lines. You can see them wiggling. All right. Going up at an angle, there is a 10mm bolt like this that holds the lines to the head. And then once you undo that, we can move these lines all around and have access. I know you can't see it. It's really hard because of the transfer case, but now we can move them out around and get the turbo out, and we don't have to worry about the coolant lines. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and the 2 bolts, that back 13 right there, and the one that's over there. We're gonna go ahead and take those out from up here, and then the third one we're gonna disconnect from underneath. And the oil line stays with the turbo because you can't take it off in the car because of the exhaust manifold. So if you're doing these turbos, I guess you can get just the turbo or you get a kit. I'm not sure why, but I got a kit this time. And the kit comes with the oil feed lines. And so this is the bolt and the washer and everything installed. This is the front one. And so here's our front turbo. Everything was covered and capped. Removed everything just to inspect. So both of my turbos came with the oil feed line. Another good thing to do is to pull your drains off, your drain pipes, and go ahead and spray some brake clean in there. Make sure that it, you know, what I did was I put it in this way, the way that it flows, and I made sure it came out right away. And then I blew air through it, front and rear, to make sure that I had no obstructions. So I thought I would show this angle right here to show how the turbo is coming out. Drain line is attached. All we did was disconnect the sway bar link, disconnected the upper strut mount, popped the axle out of the shaft here to give us room. And as you can see, the turbo is coming out right through the opening. No need to drop the subframe, no need to drop the transfer case, no need for any of that. Maybe I should put a hook here because I'm stretching the brake line, but that's it. This is how it comes out right here. So inspecting this thing, still trying to figure out what happened. This one is still intact, but the turbines are kind of chewed up, right? And there was metal all in all the cock tubes. So don't really understand how that happened. But I just got the rear one out. Now the rear one was blowing smoke. It's all wet. This one, the nut is missing off the impeller shaft, but the impeller shaft is pretty much broken. So I still have absolutely no idea what caused this to happen. But yeah, here we are. So let's get the new ones ready to go back in, and I got to get everything clean and flushed. Something you'll notice in this picture that I just posted that I completely didn't notice because I was so busy filming, that the exhaust impeller was not on the rear turbo, and it didn't dawn on me until I was putting it back together, that I looked at it and I was like, where's the exhaust impeller? So I went and grabbed the rear cat and turned it upside down, and it fell out. So the back half of the exhaust impeller was in the cat. So I had to put that in the box with the turbo because that rear turbo nut came off, got chewed up, threw the metal to the other side, chewed that one up. That impeller broke off, and it looks like Ford should be paying for this job because we put these turbos in 5,000 miles ago and that rear nut came off. Can't believe I missed that exhaust impeller was missing. So to prepare for this install on the rear turbo, we need to pull the coolant lines back and maybe bungee them out of the way. Put your new gasket up there. Hopefully you got a kit and you've got your new line here. It only goes one way. You can see this is how the old one is. This is how the new one is. All right, make sure you use the right socket. And you're gonna torque it to 30 foot-pounds. And then we're gonna put this turbo back in the same way we took it out. All right, one last thing you'll have to do with your old turbos is you'll have to extract the studs out of them. So what I'm using is this snap-on kit right here. It doesn't damage the threads. It pinches like that. And then there's also an installer. So you'll need to remove these and put these in your new turbo. So for this front one here, you're gonna put the turbo in first. You're gonna go ahead and torque your flange here, your 3 bolts. I just tighten it down tight. Then you're gonna put your oil line in and run it across here. It's gonna go on top of that stud and it's gonna clip into the fitting here. And then you're gonna put your cat in. You got your O2 sensor that hooks up right here. You got one that hooks up down below. And then you're gonna go ahead and torque your coolant lines, and don't forget your boost hose on your wastegate. And then from there, all you have left in the front here is charge air hoses. Back here, you want to go ahead and up top. So there's a heat shield right here on the back of the turbo. That goes on the turbo before you put it in. And then you're going to have 2 heat shields that go on top. Put those on before you connect your oil line because your oil line pushes up against those heat shields. Then go ahead and connect your coolant hoses there. And before you put your cat in and everything, go ahead and put your oil drain in or just hook it up. I have a new one coming for the back since it was leaking. So have all of this done and put back together before you put this suspension together, because you have a lot more room. And then from there, you're gonna slip your cat in and bolt that up, and you're gonna put your flex pipes in, and then you're just gonna go ahead and get all your cac tube piping in. Now is a good time to clean all of your cac tubes and get them all ready to go. I just got mine all clean, got them all laid out. Now I just got to go get them in the car. After watching this video, I think you will feel comfortable taking apart these turbos on this vehicle, whether it be the front one or the rear one. I hope that I helped you with the comfort level on this, as it seems pretty intimidating, and you can't really get to the back one, you can't see it. So thanks for watching the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, you get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Also check me out on Instagram at Nuts and Bolts with Tone for my daily life as a mechanic, show you all kinds of cool stuff, show you tools I'm working on, show you the gas and the diesel that I'm working on a day-to-day basis. Also show you some tools that you don't want if I come across any. Also check out my merchandise store where you can get yourself a t-shirt or a coffee cup. Support the channel. I also have a link to in my Amazon store down below, where I have all the tools that I buy that are not from the truck, that I recommend that you buy to not break the bank and have a great warranty. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.